I'm going to read some stuff from my latest book, which we hope to get published in September. This will be the fourth one. And they're prose and poetry. I'm the calm before the two thunderstorms. One thunderstorm's just gone past, and I guess the other ones are coming after me. I don't play a musical instrument. I'm almost totally deaf. So when you talk to me, I'm going to be reading your lips. So if you're at the back there and say, what a lousy reader we've got up there now, I'll understand exactly what you're saying. I'm a writer, as I said, not a musician, and some of this prose and poetry is about the travels that I made and parts of my younger life. Most of what I don't know, how long am I reading here tonight?
You got 10 minutes.
You
got 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. The stuff that I'm going to read tonight is from my younger years up to when I was 25, so when I was traveling. I started traveling when I was about 5 and a half, and I haven't stopped since. This one's called Travels Within the Mind, and it goes through the time when I was young. I moved up to traveling around England, and then I went across to France when I was old enough to get a passport, and traveled through the wine country to Rome, reached down into the southern part of France to Avignon, where I met up with the ghost of Cézanne. And that in and of itself is another story, and that's in the other books. At 7 old years and bold, astride 3 wheels of gold, travelling a city blasted and cold, a city still stinking of fire and smoke, random gaps where bombs had fallen, remembering the days and nights of calling, remembering the deaths of those who had fallen. Wandering and playing in those piles of rubble, waving to pilots who flew low in low-flying planes. The skeleton grins as they burst in flames, dreaming of travelling to far-off lands brought back by concerned adult hands. Then freedom came, world on a different plane, that first taste of continental train. Arriving in Paris in the pouring rain, then leaving the city of painted dreams, travelling south through religious reams, alone on roads that were strange to me, from the warm, balmy coast along southern France, I would swing again north from Nice to Grasse, where petal-filled fields of blooming flowers were destined for expensive bottled boutiques. Then I walked the silent forest-cut road, letting the hours pass quietly by, entertained with awakening birds from within the leafless trees. Recovering in my mind Montmartre with lights that lit up the red windmill guarding the sinful house, I longed to once again dance upon that hallowed floor, dancing and singing flushed with beer, strident voices still calling for the can-can once more. Freely laced covered knees raised high, then falling on legs outstretched, high-pitched shrills piercing the loud applause, all suspended in the air by picture-painted posterity. Blessed Lautrec, whose impressions hide the pain, but gave the flavour and taste of pleasure again. Walking those dusty roads of Rome, framed walls filled with capsuled wine, waiting for the vintner's chosen time, bitter tang of crushed vines. Fermenting towers with foaming brine, patience resting within fired oak walls, following traditions old and grown. To sit once more beneath the turquoise sky and dream as black crows glide on thermals rising from the warm, rich soil, absorbing the wise conversations, discussing the quality of this year's grape, grown on hilly rises and the river banks, listening, learning, and giving thanks. Wending up that winding walk to reach a humble plateau, to stand alone and feel the past. The artist's view will always last. To see again that mountain vast, to step inside that bearded frame, with brush in hand, to paint again The vision you then saw, I now see in my mind's awe. Purple hues and shades of green, I felt a shiver by what you had seen. A vision in all its glory of Mont Saint-Victoire. I have stood where the Impressionists toiled, felt their souls with colours rich and bold. In my mind I travel again in the sun and the pouring rain. I walk the valleys and climb the hills, seeing again those satanic mills, the people who lived and died. People like us laughed and cried. I will continue to travel within my mind. For me, those memories are the only kind. During the World War II, which I know is ancient history to most of you in here, I was still running around. All the children were evacuated from London, or most of them, down to all over the countryside. And there was about 20 young lads who were evacuated to a place near where I was living. We called it the orphanage, but it really wasn't an orphanage. And after the war, they gradually went back. All except one. A long time passing, but I still remember. I remember the orphan from London. During the war, 20 young souls had been evacuated to our area, away from the blast of bombs and burning buildings of the London Blitz. He was the only child left after the war was over. No parents, no aunts or uncles had called. No siblings had asked, is he safe? No friends had come to welcome him back to those dust-filled streets. Where is he now? Was his life as full as mine was? Did he make his own new family from strangers? Does his memory linger in those days of youth? Did he again run, playing and shouting in the grounds of the big house on Crescent Hill? The school it overlooked is still on Maindee Road. Does he remember the brook that flowed and flooded between the school and Granny Price's house, named Crescent View? Does he remember the dams we built, the small fish we trapped with homemade nets and jam jars? Does he remember those times? Does he remember when Granny called us up from our watery world to eat hand-cut, brown-cooked, steaming hot fries that made us pant and gasp, then swallow with exquisite delight? Oh, joy it would be to eat again those chips of Granny Price, to hear again her voice asking if we wanted more, and maybe just a few more, till we were ready to burst. Afterwards, our sore throats were cooled with dandelion and burdock pop. We were friends for life, but now we are lost forever. Here in this cafe on a cold, cold morning, they are just memories to savor and relive again and again and again in the deep recess of my mind. You'll have to sit with me when it's time's up.
That was the signal.
I'm going to read you one here because this is where I was from, my family.
Just a little bit more. Pretty much.
You know.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. We're almost ready for the next person.
Oh, okay. Then I'll read you the last one. When I die, I will catch the wind, go to all the places I've never been. In the first age of man at 7, I rode my trike, traversed London streets like any tyke. In my teens, I crossed the sea, and the English Channel meant nothing to me. I smelt the alien foods of France, and I walked for miles as if in a trance. The fertile fields of northern plains swept by as I travelled the trains. The frivolity of gay Paris filled my evenings night and day. When I die, I will ride the wind, sweep once more o'er the valleys of vines, taste again those sweet wines, talk again in those foreign lands where people stood with extended hands. I'll stand again where the Impressionists toiled. I'll feel their passion and breathe in their souls with their colours so rich and bold. When I die, I will hang on the wind as we turn left down that Italian boot, where olives are crushed for virgin oil and large tureens of tomatoes boil. I'll feel the warmth of brick ovens, then inhale and smell the smoke of wood fires, and pause to see them sliding out the pasta pies. When I die, I will stand high and point the way. Like the men of history, I will travel south, savouring China with all its riches, artifacts of soft stone, green jade and more, with dyed silks, banners and kites. The nighttime markets are lit with paper lights. When I die, the wind will turn, and I will jump off and fly around the world again and again and again. Thank you.
So can you give it to him?